And I was like, Pastor Finley, I expected so much better. I was thinking, like, why are you quoting a New Testament author quoting the Old Testament? Why didn't you just quote the original quote in the Old Testament where Enoch clearly would have spoken this? I actually had my journey with the Apocrypha start as a teenager. I was born and raised an Adventist, but I was baptized by Pastor Mark Finley. So it was really special. He was doing an evangelistic Revelation of Hope seminar series in San Diego. I went ahead and had made a deep request to him as a young child, saying, I want to be baptized by you. So I was, I think, one of two people at that meeting that he went ahead and baptized. But one of the things that he gave to me, or was part of the meetings, was like one of these black books that It Is Written was giving, that had like lots of Bible texts in terms of handling issues. Should you talk to a Mormon? This is the text you would turn to. And one day I was really bored, and I opened, I think it was maybe around 14, I think, and I opened it up, and I turned to the part where it's like, when you're talking about the second coming, and there's this quote from Jude. And the quote from Jude goes, and Enoch also, the seventh generation, went ahead and said this. And I was like, Pastor Finley, I expected so much better. I was thinking, like, why are you quoting a New Testament author quoting the Old Testament? Why didn't you just quote the original quote in the Old Testament where Enoch clearly would have spoken this? And so I'm like, you don't even list it here. And so I'm being innocent. I'm like, so I go, that was back when you had the E.G. White Estate CD-ROMs. So I go ahead, I'd been given as a gift. So I put that in. It has, of course, a King James Bible in it. So I go ahead and search Enoch. Shock of my life. Wait a minute, this quote's not in the Old Testament. What's going on? Where did Jude get this from? And so that began what started for me as, okay, let me go Google this, which is always a mistake when you're a teenager, because it comes up with all these weird websites that have all this misinformation about lost books of the Bible. But thankfully, none of that information necessarily stuck. I've always been someone to keep asking questions. So it intrigued me. And so that started an interest, unintentionally by Pastor Finley, to get me going on, like, what are these books and what's the canon? What's happening here? And that interest stayed off and on throughout my teenage years. I'd watched History Channel's, very much I enjoyed History Channel's old banned books from the Bible documentaries, very sensational, but it would be cool. You're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I'm getting this sense that there's all this literature that's not in the Bible. And I was reading, like, I think old translations of First Enoch. And so I had these interests. And then I'd say it was around the time I was going to enroll at La Sierra University as a freshman, I think within a year or so of that I stumbled across the Ellen White quote on the Apocrypha. I don't remember how, I don't remember why. It was the wise, for the wise of these last days quote from manuscript 1850. And I was like, whoa, Ellen White said something. And of course, back then, that was before the unpublished manuscript number 5, 1849 was publicly released. So all I had was that. And then I went ahead and looked, just by happenstance, I guess the Adventist Archives website was up and running, and I had stumbled on it, and I thought, oh, this is so fascinating. What if I was to search for Apocrypha? Oh my goodness, all of a sudden, just all of these references pop up. What if I type in Tobit? What if I type in Ezra? Oh my goodness, like so many resources. So I was like a kid in a candy shop. And I think I was probably one of the first, if not the only ones who's done that so far, to be like, let me go look this up. And I was so excited by it.
I just want to give a quick shout out over to Adventists Today and thank them for being the sponsors of this video.